Thank you very much, Erin. So I'm going to show everyone how to do a pulled handle on a mug. Now, it's okay if your clay is a little wetter than this, but you want it to be, if you're rubbing your fingers over the surface, you don't want it to be sticky or muddy. If it's still sticky or muddy, what's going to happen is when you add the weight of a handle, it's going to pull the whole thing off center. If it starts to look like it's going bone dry, like the lip of it, good, nobody has that. If the lip of it starts to look chalky, you might be able to still get away with a handle on it if the bottom is still dark, but if the whole thing is bone dry, you're just gonna have a tumbler without a handle, because even if you get handle stuck on there, it'll pop off during the firing, because they're gonna shrink differently. So for this one, I think I'm gonna do like a 3-finger handle. It'll be approximately like this one. See, stacks like that. See the height? So what I'm gonna do is pick where I want the handle to be. Signature's here, so I guess I'll put the handle right here. And I give myself a little landing pad. I score ahead of time. I score down by the foot, but not all the way to the bottom. If you do it all the way to the bottom, you're gonna have to not glaze the bottom of the handle, and then you'll have a rough spot. So stop a little bit up. Same thing, imaginary line up to the top. Score yourself a little patch, but don't do it right at the top of the lip. I mean, you can, but then if you wash the mug and put it upside down, you won't be able to put it like that. It'll rock back and forth and have like a weird ladle type handle. So yeah, unless you're making a ladle, don't do a ladle handle. So yeah, like that. Don't be afraid to be a little aggressive in your scoring, okay? This is gonna be the one object that holds the mug from the harsh mistress of gravity, okay? So be a little aggressive in your scoring. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to make a carrot with clay. And I want nice, soft clay. I don't wanna use like the bag of snips and snails and trimmings, because once again, a handle's important. It's the part that you interact with the mug first. Your hand feels it first. Second in importance is then the lip of the mug, because that's your second interaction when you drink. So make the handles nice, make the lips nice. Drinking out of a mug with a crappy handle, you'll do it once, and then that mug will become a pencil cup. If the lip isn't good, it's like kissing sandpaper. You don't want to do that. All right, so I make a carrot. I start with my hands making the carrot, but then I'm going to move it to the table. And this part's harder than it looks. Don't worry if you have to do 2 or 3. Try to make one end tapered. Like when I say carrot, I really mean carrot. If you have any major lumps or major thin spots, just start over, because you want the integrity of your handle to be really good and supportive. Okay, after I've got my carrot, I'm gonna do something funny. I'm gonna see this flat spot on the top that gives you leverage so the mug doesn't just slip out of your hands. You've got a nice landing pad for your thumb. I take the carrot about 2 or 3 inches above the table, well maybe 6, and just drop it. See, that gives me a nice flat spot. And I'm gonna measure. And after I do this, I'm gonna let you guys use my water. I'll just pass it around. Hold it up to my mug, and I hold my fingers up about level to the lip of the mug. And I snip the top off my carrot until it's just about level, maybe a little bit more with my finger. Then, in order to get the shape that I want, I'll actually snip off these 2 little dog-eared edges here. I'll have a shape like that. Next part's important. Either put a little bit of slip on here, or just a smidge of water. And it's tricky to learn how to do this, but I touch down the top part of the carrot, and I really gently wiggle the top fat part of that carrot onto the lip of the mug. And notice I'm making sure it stays totally upright. I'm not letting it flop around all over the place, because if I did, it would get strain from bending and it would get a thin spot and it would fall off. And the trick is when you push down, try also not to squeeze together. It's like, imagine like pushing an infant's arm through a sleeve. You want to have downward motion, but you don't want to squeeze. You want to, you know, hold like you're holding an egg, like something delicate. Then I'm going to hold it, flip it exactly the other direction. If it falls off at this point, you're lucky it didn't fall off later. It should stick at least by now. And now I just do the remainder of the sticking. And I'm kind of like gathering the clay from the skinnier part of the carrot and pushing it really gently, a little bit at a time, into that mug. And notice I'm making sure that it's still a straight line. I'm not turning it, twisting it. Now is where the pulls start. And if you're teaching a high school class, where all the giggles start. Because it looks like milking a goat, or so I've been told. Wow, that water is hot. All right. Use the water to really seal up nicely that join until you can't see any cracks or crevices. Still holding it so it's pointing straight down. Then I take my hand and I basically create a loose oval shape between my thumb and my fingers. And I'm not putting a lot of pressure. I'd say it's like petting a cat, but it's more like petting an eel because it's cold and slimy. But yeah, you keep petting the eel. You're not trying to kill it, okay? And anytime you feel like you're getting less of like an ice skating glide and you're getting like stuck in the mud, dip your hand back in the water. Now, when I have pulled the handle enough so that this thickness here is about the same thickness as my lip, I adjust my grip. Hold that tail end of the carrot, and I've already got my landing pad ready. See where and I've got slip on it already because, you know, that's what happens when you pet that eel. All right, and now you see I've got an attachment in both places, which is great. And we've got a little bit too much of a dreaded question mark shape, see? So I'm just gonna adjust my shape a little bit. I'm gonna widen it by pushing up a little bit, and then I'm gonna really gently make this curve more of an oval. And that makes it not stick as far up from the mug. It gives it a better proportion. If you want to do, who likes the little thumb nubby thing?
I like that.
Yeah, I love a thumb nub. It's also a nice place to put a personal stamp. So if you do the thumb nub, a beginner stumbling block for the little thumb nub is a thumb nub that's the size of a grape. You do not need a grape for a thumb nub unless you're making a mug for Paul Bunyan, okay? You need the size of one green pea. One green pea. And now here's the fun part. Throw your pea at the table. Follow through with your throw. If you don't follow through, it'll bounce and you'll lose your pea forever. All right. Stack it right on top there where you like it. And you can either just press it down lightly and have a nice little round thumb nub, or here's one of our nice little homemade stamps. I'll show these off in a minute. Support it, stamp it right on the thumb nub, abracadabra, and voila. What do you know, you've got a mug.
Hey. So you don't have to wet that piece before you put it on, you just put it on.
Nope, because two things. One's gravity.